So in breaking news last night, and just like that, Tesla announced the upgraded Model 3 is now available to order in North America. This thing's a beauty and will just fly off the shelves. Built for distance with 341 miles range, improved ride comfort, redesigned interior with rear touchscreen, better sound system and super quiet cabin, all the same price as the previous Model 3. And guess what? This will be much lower cost to make. Higher margins on the way. So we've got Brian White joining us. Brian and I do a regular show on Wednesdays, and he has his own YouTube channel called MyTeslaWeekend. You should check him out as well. Welcome, Brian.
Good morning, Herbert. Reporting to you live from Las Vegas, where CES is ongoing, and I'm learning so much great stuff.
A lot of announcements, especially AI and all these other car companies are out there. So we'll look forward to going to your channel, check out some of those live shows you're doing. Let's start with this breaking news that the Model 3. So this was announced late last night. I mean, it's a Tuesday night, which is odd that that's when they did it. But upgraded Model 3 is now available in North America. This has been rumors. You and I have reported on this. You know, people are wondering if it's going to come before, because everybody thought that there's going to be shutdowns or slow, shutdowns in production lines, but they actually did it behind the scenes, just pretty seamlessly over the last several months in Fremont. So let's play the video and take a look at this new Model 3. Yeah, it's gorgeous, gorgeous car. It looks just like the one in Shanghai and the one they're selling in Europe. What's your thoughts when you saw this?
Beautiful. No real information. If you know what the car is, if you followed it at all, if you've been waiting for this, this is all you needed. It doesn't need a big hard push. One of the questions I saw, one of the comments I got early today on a video, unrelated, was what a terribly incompetent company. How dare they just kind of announce it on a Tuesday night with no one paying attention in the middle of a big week of a big show where all eyes are elsewhere. And the CEO himself didn't even tweet it out. Well, there's a reason for that. We don't want 5 million orders. 5 million orders would be the wrong number. It'd be far too many. So you gotta, this is like the Model Y reveal and release. It's understated on purpose. They want it to trickle out first so that they can keep supply and demand reasonably well balanced.
Okay, that's a fantastic take. I hadn't actually heard that one first. That's really good. That's maybe why they did this. I mean, at least some people are saying too that this is a much better way to introduce it than the other cars, right? So they just kind of like it's ready to order right away. Looks like the end of the month. So let's take a look at more data here. This is estimated delivery January to February 2024. So this is now. It's available. And it looks like it's the same price, Model 3 for the rear wheel drive. And then you got the long range, but the premium's not available. So $38,990. This is what they said. It can go up to 341 miles range. That's the long range.
So let's talk about the range.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the range real quick. Some people had said, well, it's only 8 miles more than the previous one. It's not. It's actually significantly more. And whatever those numbers are, doesn't really matter because your use case is going to be different. Everyone's use case. If you're only tooling around town, you might get more than that. If you're spending your time on the highway, you're definitely going to get less. So what it means is this vehicle is tested on the new, more stringent EPA rules. So the capacity, the efficiency is much higher than the one you would buy a month ago or yesterday. So this is actually, not only does it have more stated range, it has more stated range on a stricter test cycle. It's a better battery. It's a better drivetrain. It's more efficient. It's a better car.
Yeah, there's so many things that's so much better about this car. Just like we saw when they launched it in Shanghai, it's like all the little things added up together make this such a much better car. So improved ride comfort, right? That's everybody's been talking about this, even with a Cybertruck. More refined, relaxed ride quality. Like you said, suspension tuning, 2 new colors, the gray and the red. Designed to change with viewing angle. Here they are. I'm sure this is going to just fly off the shelves. These are colors that people absolutely want. Redesigned interiors, so more sophisticated materials, ventilated seats, the ambient lighting. They got the rear touchscreen, Center touchscreen, how smaller bezels, screen is brighter, and then this is what it looks like. So gorgeous. Again, we've seen this with the Shanghai. Looks fantastic. And then it's got the oops, go ahead. Yep.
So on the price is the same, but the margin's going to improve. How does that happen when they're giving you more bells and whistles? Do you know the answer?
uh, because all the parts inside have been changed. It's probably much more similar to the Model Y reuse of parts.
It has got all that. I mean, they're not reusing the parts yet because now it's the different car, but it will have that. It is cheaper to build. But the second reason is those premium paints are going to become very popular. Where on Model 3s, the base model paint, the free included paint, is what
Uh,
just about everyone was getting. So we're going to
so
have,
even
and we
like
saw
they
this
charge
in
higher.
Shanghai. Or, yeah, in
Yeah,
Berlin, we saw this. As soon as they unveiled the premium colors, that was a good third of what was going out was these very expensive paint add-ons, which is, it doesn't cost that much more to make them. So it's a lot of added margin that helps offset the lower margin on the base cars.
fantastic. Yeah, we're gonna have higher margins. That's what the whole reason why they're doing this. So you got better sound system, 17 speakers, super quiet cabin, acoustic glass, gorgeous car. Love this shot. Fantastic. Beautiful photos too. Um, yeah.
And 17 speakers with dual subwoofers in a car that tight. Oh, that's going to be the best sound from a factory you've probably ever heard. Certainly the best factory sound I've ever heard, but it's premium. And you'll remember on earlier models, there were times when they would say, oh, we released an over the air update to optimize the sound a little bit better. That's not something I've heard of from any other manufacturer.
Yeah, I think one of the things we need to talk about, right, is that, and somebody made this point, which is really brilliant. Whenever you hear these competitions coming, and they're creating their cars, and they've already designed the lock, they've presented it, but it's going to take them a while to actually produce it and release it, and sometimes they've actually delayed it. But they're not competing with the existing Model 3. They're not competing with the existing Model Y. They're competing with this new Model 3 and the new Model Y that's coming out. And so they're always just continuing to fall behind as this moves forward. So this is going to be really hard. The only thing that confuses me, and we'll talk about it, is the prices. It's still so close to the Model Y. People are still buying the Model Y instead of the Model 3. Do you have an idea why they're doing this? Why aren't they? Are they waiting for like a scaled of the Model 3 before they can lower that price, or what's your thinking?
So, what we knew from when Sandy Monroe first tore down the Model Y, his assessment was this car might be cheaper to build than the Model 3. It's got more atoms, sure, but it's got better processes. We were hoping to see the Giga castings show up on the Model 3, and they really haven't. Even with the redesign, we're not seeing it, which is a surprise to me. I know they were hoping to build a new casting area in Fremont. They put in the foundations and everything. It looked like it was ready to be put up, and then they just paved over it and put cars there. So that was a little surprising. So I think they were hoping to introduce castings to the Model 3, which would help reduce the cost. But the car has to have a positive margin, and they can't go cheaper just because they want to differentiate the two sectors, the compact SUV versus the sedan. And at the same time, they can't premium price the Model Y any higher than they are before rates go down, or they'll stop moving the units that they're moving. And that creates a death spiral. You raise the price 2 grand, you lose some economy of scale. Now your cost went up. Now you can't drop it 2 grand. So there is just that difference. And then when you factor in the batteries, and that without using the lease loophole, which allows you to use batteries from anywhere in the world, if you're buying the Model 3, some models are no longer going to qualify for the tax incentive. And it looks like the Model Y rear wheel drive also may not qualify, but I'm less sure on that. I'd seen some conflicting reports, so I'm not sure. So it just comes down to what it costs to build. The Model Y is only a little bit bigger, but all the expensive parts are the same. The wheels, the tires, the brakes, the suspension, the battery, the motors, they're all the same. So the Model 3 is still an expensive car to build, as all cars are.
Yeah, so that's right. So the IRA credits still don't apply to this new Model 3 revised. That's one of the things that people were hoping that they were going to change the where the locate source of the batteries, and then it can apply, and then therefore the prices will be much lower than Model Y. Still says, this still confuses me that they've done it this way. Maybe, like you said, they can't do anything about it. But keeping the price the same was important because you've got all these new improvements at the same price. And so it's still very valuable. I mean, at the end of the day, as a consumer, this is one of the best cars you can buy, best, tech and best features for your money, the best look. It is still going to go and be very, very successful. Sawyer pointed this out, that deliveries of the new Model 3 will begin by the end of this month. I mean, they're set up and ready to go. Despite all the upgrades, the prices are same as before. You get 8 more miles of range. We talked about that on the new long range trim versus the old long range. Mm-hmm.
Well, and it isn't really 8 more. It's more than that. It's the test cycle has also changed. So the fact that the number went up at all while the rules got stricter is just wonderful for us as consumers.
I see. Good point. And then he said the Model 3 is not eligible for the federal EV rebate as this use the same batteries. There's currently no performance variant. And then this article is written, it says the same things we just talked about. It's going to take orders January, February. Like in Europe, is only selling the rear-wheel drive and dual motor. The performance version's gone for now. Any thoughts of why they haven't introduced this yet?
Of course. So we predict, you and I talked about this a few months back, maybe 6 months back now. I predicted in Shanghai that they would switch one line at a time, start with the long range and standard range, but not the performance. Certainly start at the bottom, because the performance one, if somebody wants that, they will still buy it, even though it's the old body. So they will switch over some of the lines first. As soon as they're done, they'll switch over the other line, because there are 2 lines making Model 3 in Fremont. So the one line has already switched over. Once it's ramped, 80-90% ramped, they'll shut down the performance line and retool that one as well. So that'll be coming a month or 2 later, maybe 3. And then, yeah, so that way, if there is any major hiccup, like we saw with the S and X, they don't lose the entire production for the Model 3, which is, it's not their biggest seller, but it is their second biggest seller. And to lose all that production from one of the only 2 factories that make it would be a problem. You don't want that to happen. But if something goes wrong and one of the lines is having trouble spooling back up, you've still got the other one going full speed.
Oh,
So that's why
Brian.
the difference there.
That's why I love you, man. You know your stuff. Guys, this guy is gold. What you just heard here, you're not going to hear anywhere else. Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for teaching me. I had no idea the stuff you just said. And brilliant, Brian. I love you. That's good. So some more information here that's interesting. The prices stayed the same. The range has stayed the same, or well, except for the, like we just said, long range. But interestingly, this top speed has been reduced from 140 to 125. I hadn't seen this. Did you know about this?
I did not know about that. And if I had to guess, I would say that this might be another way that they game the EPA ratings. Maybe they've changed the gear
Gotcha.
ratio ever so
I
slightly
see.
to optimize for the kinds of speeds that 99% of us will go, rather than that last 1% who really needs to go to 140. And these aren't the performance version. The performance version may still go to 140,
Yeah,
but I personally do not require speeds in excess of 125.
exactly. So it's interesting. Very smart observation. I love you, man. Okay, the acceleration time has stayed the same. And then based on the range calculation in Europe, the new Model 3 is more efficient, getting a longer range than the older version. It's not reflected in this update in the US. Probably, like you just said, it's all the changes. And so James Cat said this, which was interesting. He said, so one can still buy a Model Y real drive for less than a Model 3 after the IRA credits. The Model Y, 44,000 pre-credit, but it's 36,500 post-credit. The Model 3 real-wheel drive is 39, no credit. So do you think that Tesla doesn't care? Maybe they don't care. Maybe both cars, they're making just right as much margins as possible anyways, because this is credits.
I Yeah, I think they would love to change the prices in a way that makes more sense, but they're constrained by wherever it is that they're sourcing their batteries. The problem is getting battery factories built quickly enough to meet the timeline set by the IRA has proved impossible. A lot of companies are in the process of building battery factories, but these are very complicated factories. These are very complicated processes and procedures to make these high precision um, components. I talked with a guy yesterday who runs a company whose only business is leasing and selling testing equipment for cells. So they will come to your factory while you're tooling and help you get it dialed in. And I imagine they charge a absolute fortune for that service because it is worth it. Because the if your cells are imbalanced, you're going to have catastrophic results down the road. So getting these factories built is going to take time. As soon as they are built, more cars will qualify for these credits. We saw last year there was something like 20 cars that qualified, and this year there's what, 8 or 10, and most of them are Teslas because so few companies make batteries domestically.
All right. Well, the price of these Model 3s and the Model Y is like 38,990, right? We're so freaking close that a $35,000 number that we were talking about way back then doesn't account for inflation and all the things that have happened. But still a very good price point. Fantastic car. It's like blows anything else that's out there, right? I'm gonna probably upgrade to this car from my old Model 3. Get to give it some serious thought because the differences between my 2020 and this one is just too much to ignore. Just a beautiful, beautiful car. Um, yeah.
I would add to that not only are we awfully close to that $35,000 price point, like you said, with inflation, we'd be probably around 43,000. But this is a better car. Forget just the new upgrades. Just this, the $35,000 model had a very short range. It had a sound system that no Tesla today would dip as low as a lot of things were missing. And I want to say maybe it didn't include autopilot. That might have been something you had to pay extra for. So and then you've got all these new Highland refresh features, the rear end infotainment, all the premium glass, the better everything. This is a way better car and a better value than the 35,000 we were hoping for. So the people saying, oh, the Cybertruck 80,000, that's too much. Guys, it'll come down over time. Economies of scale, efficiencies, we'll get there. But at launch, you can't act surprised when the price is high.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you then. Okay, so we've got the Model 3, Model Y, we got the prices here. Is there a chance at all that the Model 3 prices could fall even more? Or this is basically, like you said, even once they scaled it, this is it. This is the refresh. And so we're going to have to wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years before they get a second refresh.
I just don't know on that. In the past, I've always seen prices come down and said, well, that's definitely the floor. And then I've been wrong. I would say that they're running out of room for efficiencies, for economies of scale, until they do make that next version that's got the 48 volt, that's got the giga castings, that's got something that will take the savings to the next level. And the fact that they're still building it on basically the same philosophy that they were when it came out years ago, means that the lessons they've learned are small lessons, small bits of efficiency. And a lot of those we've already realized bit by bit along the way throughout the years. So I don't know how much room there is left to discount, but it could be, like Elon said, they want to just move as many units as possible. And in that regard, there's definitely room to cut the price a little bit. It's just a question of how Wall Street feels about Tesla dipping down into mere automotive margin ranges.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is it. We're very happy, right? We finally got, it was released in September, October in Europe and China. Now it's available here in the US. They've caught up. There's no Osborne, maybe a little bit there was happening. Like people are waiting for it, realizing it's coming, but it's out there now. Fantastic car. It's going to do very, very well around the world. Great price, regardless that there's no price different segmentation between the Model Y. So I'm pretty happy. This is Model 3, Model Y are going to do very well. We're going to expect the Model Y to have a revision this year, right? Everybody's expecting it to happen this year, maybe the second half of this year. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Thank you very much, Brian.
Sounds very exciting. Yep.
It's good. It'll keep us in, sales will still go through the roof for this year. And then of course, what we're waiting for is the compact car, the sub $25,000 car. Thank you, Brian. This is brilliant. You're always providing great information. I appreciate you. Follow him on his channel at MyTeslaWeekend. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.